They let women carry guns. Deirdre, men must have an awful problem with you, the way you're issuing them with orders. Oh, you're in the army. That's a really unusual career choice for a lady. Deirdre, when are you just going to settle down, find yourself a nice, quiet job, and leave all that rough army business up to the men? These are just a tiny sample of the many comments I've got over my 14 years of being an infantry officer in the Irish Defence Forces, from both men and women. Interestingly, not from within my own organisation, but from my peers, from casual acquaintances I meet in passing, or from my extended family. What is so unusual about my career choice? And where are all the women? Let me begin by saying the reason I joined the Defence Forces. I joined the military because I wanted to be a soldier. I wanted to serve my country, to serve Ireland and its interests at home and overseas. My motivations for joining were no less honourable, nor indeed practical, than any of the male military personnel in the audience today. I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to go to university. I wanted full-time employment. And I did want to make a meaningful contribution to society. And as it's been highlighted by Ambassador Kelly, I'm fortunate that Ireland has a long and proud tradition of serving with the United Nations on peacekeeping operations. Indeed, I saw my own father, well, I wasn't alive, but my own father deployed on his first of 8 UN missions to Lebanon in 1979. I saw over the years how proud he was to serve his country, and to serve a country whose overseas deployments are underpinned by the values of physical courage, moral courage, respect, integrity, loyalty. These are the reasons I wanted to join the Defence Forces, because my parents had instilled those very values in me from the time I was born. This is why I made my choice. Gender, women, peace and security, equality, none of these words factored into my decision-making process. But over the last 14 years, and as I've gained more experience, training, my education, particularly in the topic we're here today to discuss, it has evolved. UN Security Council Resolution 1325, the Women, Peace and Security Agenda, the importance of integrating a gender perspective into our operational planning processes, and how we collect sex disaggregated data. It makes perfect sense. I get it. And I saw firsthand when I was deployed in South Lebanon as a platoon commander as part of UNIFIL, the meaningful and essential contribution made by women, and the importance of mixed teams deployed on the ground. How, as a result of my very presence and that of the few female peacekeepers deployed with me, we were able to gain greater access to the population. As the result of this greater access, we were able to gain more information, and as a result, feed this information and inform our planning processes. I'm a strong advocate for mixed teams, diverse teams. And generally when we're deployed on peacekeeping operations, and in many of the countries the UN are currently deployed, there is a greater differentiation of gender roles. Indeed, conflict can exacerbate existing inequalities and can reinforce harmful stereotypes. I used my perceived femininity as an asset, not as a vulnerability, and as a strength, not as a weakness. And in the population that we were deployed within the community in Lebanon, I used the gender bias that was present in the culture and in the community we were serving, and I used it to gain greater access and greater information, and gain the trust of both men and women. For the women, they want their voices heard. They want to share their experiences. and they want to be part of the peace-building process, not to be active recipients of security. And I found that with the inclusion of females, and as I was there as a platoon commander, I had a few females deployed within my platoon as well. We utilized this asset to open the lines of communication. And we did find that just the presence of a female on a patrol or checkpoint, it acted as a great enabler to open those lines of communication. And consequently, when males then went out into the field, they then were able to build on that relationship and build upon that trust, ultimately greatly increasing our situational awareness as a force. For the men and for the security forces of the host nation, which were exclusively male, I also used my femininity as an asset. They saw me as a woman and therefore not a threat. So I was able to sit down, get information on their experience of the conflict, how it has affected them, their careers, how it's affected their children, and get their overview and their lived experience, which I don't think many of my male colleagues would be able to get that level and that detail of information. I also saw, as a result of my specific training, I'm trained as a civil military in civil military cooperation and as a gender advisor. And with this, coupled with my experience of being an instructor in our United Nations training school, I have trained and educated thousands of Irish military personnel, international military personnel and police, and diplomats, humanitarians, NGOs, on women, peace and security. As I said, I got it. It made perfect sense to me. But I hold my hands up today, and I will admit to you all, I made a mistake. I made a mistake in those early days of delivering training and education to those groups, because I used UN Security Council Resolution 1325 to justify my existence and the existence of my accomplished professional female peacekeepers that I served alongside, and only concentrated on highlighting our role in preventing conflict-related sexual violence, gender-based violence, and in the prevention of sexual exploitation and abuse. By doing this, I limited the role I had and that my female colleagues have. We have the exact same training in the Irish Defence Forces as our male colleagues. I have passed the exact same tests, and my role in UNIFIL was not just limited to engaging with the female population or engaging just on female issues in the area of operations. I carried out the range of activities undertaken by my male colleagues. And I suppose looking back at that evolution and looking back at the evolution of 1325 and female participation, I have come to the realization that actually the solution to our collective problem, it lies within all of us. It lies in how we socialize our young girls and our young boys. It lies in how we break down stereotypes and stop setting unfair, unreasonable, and outdated expectations on young boys and young girls. I am proud to serve my country as a soldier, and I do not believe that my worth or my ability, my intellect is predicated on my biology, on my potential to carry a child. And very often this is used as a reason to not allow females into combat, not allow females into the military. As a woman, I'm meant to be inherently more peaceful, more nurturing than my male colleagues. And by virtue of my sexual reproductive organs, I'm a life giver, and therefore cannot be a life taker. This argument worries me, because this argument forms the basis on why many militaries exclude female participation altogether from their security forces. Indeed, I, as an infantry officer, I, as someone who I said has passed and completed the exact same training as my male colleagues, I looked at the emergence of all-female peacekeeping units that were deployed to Liberia and Haiti initially. I looked at it as a worrying trend. Because for me, and from my training and experience, for me it signified that because these units were predominantly going out into the mission areas to deal with gender-based violence and conflict-related sexual violence, for me I worried that it would label these issues as female issues, and therefore giving a free pass essentially to the men. The fact is, on overseas missions, the prevention, preemption, and response to sexual violence, it's the responsibility of all of us as peacekeepers to act, to inform ourselves, and to be able to respond to preventing, preempting, and responding. And I also, it signified that it was an attempt to marginalize female military personnel by seemingly being progressive by deploying these all-female peacekeeping units, but actually not allowing full and equal participation of the females into the wider contingent and also the wider peacekeeping force. Mixed teams and diversity. These are our force multipliers. These are what will increase our situational awareness, and these are what will result in better peacekeeping operations. I have certainly seen this firsthand. I suppose when I look back at the last 14 years and look back at the progress made, it is with regret that I say the figures of 3.6% of women deployed on peacekeeping operations, it's not good enough. And with the low numbers of females deployed, it can't fall upon my shoulders and that of my female colleagues to ensure that a gender perspective is implemented and mainstreamed throughout the entire military operation. It's down to male leadership, male education, and the wider scope of training our personnel in how to implement a gender perspective. As I stated in the beginning, diversity is an enormous strength and an asset. And while we will continue to try and break down stereotypes and to shrug off as women the unfair expectations placed upon us, I have to say a life in the military is not for everyone. Deploying overseas, spending extended times away from your family, your loved ones, it's not for everyone. And today the military is offering a life that is atypical to the life that society is telling us girls and women that what we should be aspiring to be. A life where we are judged on our looks, what we wear, where our worth is measured according to a set of unfair, unreasonable, and vacuous ideals. The military in this selfie age is asking us to be selfless. And we are trying to get to a point where we are judged not on those unattainable ideals, but on our ability to lead, our sense of humanity, our sense of compassion. We are asked to put others first, to act, to be fearless, to be warriors, and to protect the most vulnerable in society. My ability to be all these things, as I said, is not predicated on my biology. I look at the women I serve alongside, and I use the words courageous, brave, strong, intelligent, and confident to describe each and every single one of them. These are the words and attributes I associate with femininity. I know there are many, many girls out there who possess all of the necessary skills, attributes, traits, and intellect, unlimited, untapped potential to become great military soldiers, peacekeepers, leaders, role models to both men and women. To those girls, I say, take the leap, ignore those who say you can't because you're a girl. We need you in the military because you are unique, and because you will make our military organizations and the United Nations a stronger, a better, and a more responsive organization. Thank you.